Hey, okay, so now can you hear me? Hey, Cheryl, I'm looking at your Facebook messages. It says you can see me. Can you hear me? Oh, it does say I have one viewer. Okay, cool. Let me send out this new link to the group. Okay, just share that to the event. Let me go here. Oops. Okay, since I sent the new link, let's see if anyone else shows up because I think you're the only one here right now. This is one viewer. And let me see where I can see who's there. Settings. Nope. Okay, I know there weren't a lot of people who said they were going to join. I believe it was maybe two others. Let me see. Who said they were coming? Karsten, Linda, and Cheryl. Cheryl's here. All right, thank you, Cheryl. Don't know if Karsten is going to make it. But in any case, I do believe this is recorded so people can watch it afterwards. Is it 102? I'll wait just a few more minutes. Cheryl, if you hear back from Linda, let me know. Go back to the group. Let me test that new link, make sure it works. And there I am. Okay. Join. Okay, so that works. Okay, well, I'll just go ahead and get started since this is being recorded. We'll go ahead and, hang on a second, participants. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started then. Yeah, if you hear back from Linda, just let me know. So again, this is being recorded so anyone can watch it later. The business of photography. So if you're interested in making money from photography, or maybe you already are, but wondering if you might be, if you're on the right track, that this is for you. Because when I first started, I really didn't know what I was doing. It took me a long time to learn these things. So hopefully what this will do today will give you a list of things that you can look at all at once. Or, after this, you can go back and say, oh, these are the steps I need to take. And it won't take you weeks or months to stumble upon them. So when I first started photography, it started off as a hobby. I had a regular 9-to-5 job, 40 hours a week, and photography was just a hobby. But it turned out it was, as you already know, a very expensive hobby. So I thought, man, wouldn't it be great if I could just make some money, not to, get rich or not as a career. I never thought photography would be a career. I thought I just want to make money to pay myself back for the equipment that I've purchased, but also purchase new equipment, because as you know, in photography, there's always something else, always something that you need: a new lens, new camera, batteries, bags, whatever. So that was my goal. It's like, if I could just make money on the side, and just to pay myself back or buy new equipment. So I thought, okay, well, how do I make money in photography? Yeah, there's portraits, there's weddings. Like I was racking my head. I was like, who pays for photography? And I thought the biggest bang for the buck, no pun intended, would be wedding photography. So I thought, I know, I'll be a wedding photographer. So I shot a couple weddings, and after that, I was like, okay, this is definitely not what I want to do. I do not want to shoot weddings. It's a lot of work. Most brides don't want to, or most people don't want to pay what it's worth. And to me, I felt that the market was really saturated with wedding photographers. You can go on Craigslist and find people willing to shoot weddings for like $300. Now that doesn't mean that I'm not trying to discourage anyone from being a wedding photographer if that's what you want to do. In fact, by the end of this course, hopefully you'll have some tools in your belt to follow that path. But it just wasn't for me. So I was doing portraits on the side. I was doing kids' birthday parties. It's just anything that came up, and I was charging $75 here, $100 there. And to me, it was just, it's extra money, right? It's like I wasn't trying to get rich, wasn't trying to start a career. It's just pocket money so that I could spend on camera equipment. Hang on just a second here, getting a message. Okay. So, but as I later learned, if you want to be legitimate, then there are some things you need to do, like pay taxes. And if you're selling a product, you have to collect and remit sales tax to the state, which is something I'll get to in a minute. But let me first start. I'm going to share my screen here in a second. This one, screen share, will go here. So hopefully right now you should be seeing my computer screen, and it's an Amazon page for a book called Best Business Practices for Photographers. This is the 3rd edition. I have the previous edition. This is a really good book because it kind of breaks down the steps or things you need to think about as you pursue your photography business. And the reason I bring this up is because I don't know if it's in this edition, but in the previous edition, the author brought up the example of newspaper photographers. As you may know, newspaper photographers are a dying breed over the last, 5 or more years. Some newspapers in the country have eliminated their entire photography staff or cut back severely. So let's say for example, you are a newspaper photographer. That's your job, right? You get, your Monday through Friday, whatever your schedule is, and you're getting paid, you get benefits, vacation, time off, whatever. And you think, well, I already have camera gear. I'm already a photographer. Why not do something on the side for extra income? You know, on your days off, be shoot portraits, shoot weddings, whatever. And you're charging $100 here, $100 there. And then one day you come into work to find out you've lost your job. You've been laid off. Well, now what? Are you still going to charge $100 per shoot? No, now you need to replace your entire income plus more for taxes, which I'll get to. So let's say you were making, I don't know, $40,000 a year. You've now lost your job. You now need to make $40,000 a year somehow, right? And you're not going to do that if you're only charging $100 per photo shoot. Like, you're going to have to do a lot of photo shoots to replace your income. So what the author says is, even if you're just doing it on the side, you need to charge as if it's your sole income. You know, pretend that you don't have another job. Pretend that this is it. So that way, if one day you want to transition, you want to go full-time, you want to quit your job and just be a photographer, you'll be in a good place already. Or if you do lose your job and you say, well, you know, I'm going to fall back on photography, you'll be in a good place already. Because if you're charging your client $100 and then the next time they hire you, you say, well, now it's $500, and they're like, what happened? Last time I hired you, you charged me $100. Is your work 5 times as good now, or is it 5 times better? No. So, you know, you can't justify that price increase. You can't say, oh, well, I lost my job, so now I need to charge more. Well, no, sorry, that's not their problem. That's your problem. So I just wanted to bring that example up and mention this book. So one of the most common questions people ask is, how much should I charge? And actually, let me come here first. If you go to YouTube, you can bookmark this or just save it for later. I'm not going to play it now. It's a 15-minute video. But go to YouTube and type in Mark Wallace and what to charge. And this video should come up. How much should I charge? It's a video for Adorama TV. So definitely take the 15 minutes to watch this, because he kind of breaks down the considerations you should take when deciding what to charge. And basically what it comes down to is knowing your cost of doing business. So here's another page that you should probably bookmark, nppa.org/calculator. Or if you just Google NPPA/cost of doing business, you should come to this page here. And what I really like about this is you enter your expenses, how much you want to make, the number of days you think you can work a year, and it'll kind of break down your cost of doing business and your overhead. And that's basically how much you need to charge just to break even. Now, these numbers are not mine. These are automatically populated. You can clear these out. But what I do like about this is that it gives you categories that you may not have thought of before. You know, you might think your business expenses are your camera equipment, your computer, Photoshop, but there are other considerations like, you know, advertising, postage, professional development. Do you go to conferences? Do you buy books? Subscribe to online training? Health insurance is a big one. You know, so definitely take a look at these categories. Type in your numbers or what you think it might be. You know, just go through the steps of filling this out, and it'll kind of give you an idea. Let me see. No, it's not sharing right now. Okay, so again, since the common question is how much should I charge, there is no answer for that. Hang on a second. Getting another message here. Sorry. There is no clear-cut answer for that, because only you know that. Only you know what your expenses are. Only you know how much you want to make per year. Are you just out of college, living by yourself in an apartment? Are you married with 2 kids, one going into college? Does one of your kids need braces? Did your AC just quit and you need to spend a few grand to fix it? Did your car just break down? I mean, there are so many factors, you know, so I can't tell you, you know, for weddings, you should charge this. For portraits, you should charge that. I am a real estate photographer. I shoot real estate. And there is no standard pricing. In fact, from my experience, I think a lot of real estate photographers undercharging. I don't know how they can get away with it unless they're just not paying taxes. So again, I can't tell you what to charge. You need to figure that out by figuring out what your expenses are. I'm sorry, let me see if I can share another screen with you. Give me just a second. I think we should be back to seeing me. Here, let me start this one here. Screen share, present to everyone. Okay, so this is a spreadsheet I keep. So I can kind of keep an eye or at least try to predict what my expenses are. So I have my fixed recurring costs, and these are costs that come up year after year, and they generally don't change a whole lot. There's my website, liability insurance, I file as an LLC, my accounting software, Photoshop's in there, Premiere's in there. So these are costs that I can predict. I know these are fixed costs that I'm going to incur every year. And that's totals close to $2,800. That means I need to make $2,800 in a year just to pay my expenses, or just to pay these expenses, right? I haven't made any profit, haven't made any money. If I make $2,800 in a year, congratulations, I paid for my expenses, but I've made nothing, right? It means I don't get to eat, I don't get to pay my bills. So projected optional costs, these change every year. These are the toys that I think I need, or these are toys that I want but don't need. I might buy some of these, I might not. But again, I just put these in so I can see how much I might spend in a year. So these change out every year. And so that's another $3,200. The total is about $6,000. So I need to make $6,000 this year just to pay for expenses. And this doesn't include everything, because I don't, every once in a while I'll need AA batteries. I need more memory cards. I need, there's shipping costs. There's a whole bunch of little expenses that add up throughout the year that are not on here. I make this for myself just so I can see these are things I can predict. These are things I can plan on. These are things that I know of. So it's at least $6,000. And I know it's probably going to be more than that with all the little costs that add up throughout the year. But at least this gives me some idea. So let me stop that. And let me go back to sharing my other screen. Okay, so again, I'm spending a lot of time on this because I know it's one of the most important questions photographers have when they're first starting out, is how much should I charge? It's such a vexing question because there is no clear-cut answer. No one can answer it but you. So the first thing you need to do is write down all your expenses, everything, your computer, your camera, software, and also take into account the replacement value, right? So you might need a new computer every 5 years. You might need a new camera every 3 to 5 years, right? So how much are you going to need to spend 3 years from now, 5 years from now? I'm in a position now where I don't have to, say, for example, put camera equipment on my credit card. I pay cash, well, not cash, but it comes from my checking account. I don't have to put it on credit and pay it off and build interest. When I first started, I was buying used equipment. Yeah, pretty much. In order to save money, I had to buy used equipment. Now I can buy new, and I don't have to put it on credit cards. Why? Because I factor that into my expenses. So 5 years from now, if I need to buy a new computer, I have that money, right? 3 years from now, 5 years from now, if I need a new camera, I have that money because I'm planning for it now. I'm planning for it today. I'm saving that money today so that 5 years from now, I can have that new computer, right? So factoring all your expenses. And again, that's why I really like this calculator. It gives you categories that you can, that you may not have thought about. And then figure out, okay, now how much do I want to make in a year, right? And again, only you can answer that. How much do you want to make in a year? Now, let's say that after expenses and what you want to make in a year, you decide, okay, I need to make, I don't know, $30,000 a year. So I need to charge this much per wedding, per portrait session, whatever. Is it a realistic number? The other thing you have to factor in is your experience level and what the market will bear. Not everyone will pay you what you think you're worth. And you have to decide, well, am I going to go after clients that will pay me, or do I need to improve my work? Like if you're just starting out, if you're not a very good photographer, you're just now learning your camera, you don't know about off-camera lighting, you probably can't charge a whole lot right now, right? So you may need to charge less than what you want until you build your experience, until you build your portfolio, until you have work that can justify that cost. Even if you can justify that cost, there will still be people who, here, let me come back to me so you can see me. There will still be people who won't want to pay you what you're worth, and that's okay. Let them walk away. When I first started out, when I was first shooting, I turned down $1,000. It was a gig that offered me $1,000, and I said no. Now, $1,000 is a lot of money, especially when you're first starting out. But the reason I said no is because I made the calculation. I thought, okay, how much of that $1,000 do I have to pay in taxes? What am I left with? With what I'm left with, what are my expenses? And I think this job was shooting, it was like a townhome development, and they wanted me to shoot like 30, almost 40 different townhomes in this community. So after I did the math, I figured out I was going to make about $14 per unit. And it takes me 45 minutes to an hour to shoot each one, another 45 minutes to an hour to edit each one. So I'm going to make $14. So I said, no, I'm not going to do it for $14 per unit. So that's why I turned down the $1,000. I didn't think, wow, $1,000, that's great. Sure, I'll take the job. I did the math. I broke down the numbers and I said, taxes, expenses, what am I left with? Not much. So no, thank you. I get emails and phone calls every week saying, hey, can you shoot this house for me? Can you come shoot this house? And when I tell them how much I'm going to charge, they say, no, thanks, or they walk away, or I never hear back from them. I don't go chasing after them. I let them walk away. I'm going after the clients who value my work and who are willing to pay what I'm worth. If they're not willing to pay what I'm worth, that's okay. Think of a car dealership, right? There's a Lexus dealership, and across the street, there's a Kia dealership. Nothing wrong with Kia, by the way. Not everyone can afford a Lexus, right? They're going to go to the Kia dealership. Is Lexus over there crying? Are they begging for customers? No, please come over here. We'll cut the cost of our Lexus. No, they know what that Lexus is worth, right? And they're not going to sell it for less. Same thing with Apple. You walk into an Apple store, there's a $400 iPad. And you say, well, I don't have $400 for an iPad. I have $300. They're going to send you to the Microsoft store on the other side of the food court. So Apple doesn't sweat it. They're not begging for customers. People line up outside their stores every time they launch a new product. Why? They know what their product is worth, right? So I guess my message for you right now is once you get established, don't be afraid to let clients walk away, or prospective clients. Don't be afraid to let them walk away if they're not willing to pay you what you're worth. The question is what you're charging worth it? And only you can be the judge of that. If you're first starting out, if your work isn't that great, again, you probably can't charge a whole lot. As you gain experience, then yes, then now you can start charging more. Your work is worth it. And you want to focus on the clients who think who value that and think that it's worth that cost, right? Okay. Any questions on pricing? I know I spent a lot of time on that. I think Cheryl's the only one here, so if you want to chat or text. If not, I'll go move on. Let me, hang on a second. Share my screen again. Screen share, present to everyone. All right, so we talked about the calculator. We talked about that YouTube video. You know what? Let me talk real quick about the different types of photography. This was a little PowerPoint I did the last time I taught this course a couple years ago. So there are 3 types of photography, right? There's retail, commercial, and editorial. Retail is what most people think about when you think about paying for photography, right? It's the wedding photographers, the portrait photographers, the real estate photographers. You know, if you go to, well, Easter's coming up, you go to the mall, you take your kid to the mall to have their picture taken with the Easter bunny, right? That's retail, right? You're selling a service or product. Commercial photography is, for example, what you see in billboards and magazines. Anytime you see an ad for, say, Nike, Coca-Cola, Apple, whatever, they hired a commercial photographer. So it could be products, but it could also be people, right? If there's a picture of, I don't know, Serena Williams or some CEO of a Fortune 500 company on the cover of a magazine, that's commercial. That's commercial photography. Editorial photography is for anything that's in print. So newspapers, books, well, magazines, but not for advertising. Magazine would be like National Geographic, for example, right? So that's editorial. Just as an aside, one of my pet peeves is when people post pictures and they say this is an editorial, and I'm like, where was it published? And they say, well, it wasn't published. Well, then it's not editorial. I think what that person meant is that this is my interpretation. This is my art, right? This is my take on this subject. Well, yeah, every picture is, right? Because every time anyone takes a picture, it's your interpretation of that subject. But it has to be published in order for it to be considered editorial. But most of us will be in the realm of retail photography. So I was a little short-sighted when I first started. You come back to me here. No, I'll come to this next. I was a little short-sighted when I first started because I could only think of like portraits and weddings. But there are so many avenues of photography that you can pursue. You can be a fine art photographer. You can focus. You could specialize in pets. You can. There are so many different types of photographies that you can go into. So I really urge you to kind of think about who's going to pay for photography, right? And then secondly, think, what do you enjoy to do? Again, I went into weddings. I thought that's where the money is. I'm going to shoot weddings. I didn't enjoy it, right? And I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Come back to me. There we go. I didn't enjoy shooting weddings, so that wasn't for me, right? So I shouldn't have. Don't go into it just for the money. Don't follow an avenue of photography because you think, well, this is the type of person that's going to pay for photography. It should be something you enjoy. If you like shooting wildlife, you need to figure out who's going to pay for that photography, right? Who's going to pay for a picture of a bird or a lion or an alligator, like whatever it is you like to shoot, right? If you like taking pictures of flowers, okay, who's going to pay for pictures of flowers? You have to figure that out, right? That to me is more in the realm of fine art photography. You're making prints of your pictures. You're going to galleries. You're setting booths at art shows. You're selling prints online. You need to market yourself as a fine art photographer, right? Because you're shooting flowers, or you're shooting landscapes, or you're shooting animals, whatever it is. So whatever it is that you enjoy most, if you like taking pictures of people, if you like shooting models, if you like just portraits, then you want to go after the portrait photography market, right? And actually, well, I think Carson's there. See, Carson popped up. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can. Nope. Okay. All right. So, sorry, where was I? Yes. Figure out first what you enjoy the most, and secondly, is someone going to pay for photos of what you like to shoot? Right. That's the puzzle you need to figure out. I shoot real estate, so who's going to buy real estate photography? Well, realtors, homeowners looking to sell their homes, property management companies, builders, interior designers, right? So I make a list of, okay, who are my clients? Who are my potential clients, right? My client base. And then that way I can market towards them. If I like to shoot pet rocks, well, who's going to buy a picture of a pet rock? If the answer is no one, I'm probably out of luck, right? Although you never know. A friend of mine, I think he's in this group, he's a big Star Wars fan, and he substitutes the little miniature figures and little scenes and stuff and shoots them, and I think he said he puts them on a blog. Now that's a little tricky because Star Wars is trademarked and copyrighted, and it's owned by Disney, so you can't really sell that. But I believe he monetizes his blog. I believe he has ads on his blog. And so there are a lot of Disney fans on there who will visit his blog to see these pictures. And so he can make money from the ads on his blog, not by selling the pictures of the Disney of the Star Wars characters, because he would get sued, right? But he figured out, hey, people are visiting my blog to see the pictures. I can put ads on my blog and make money from that, right? So again, there's always a way. Figure out what it is that you like to shoot, and then who's going to pay for that. Now, this is the part of the conversation where I talk about specializing versus being a jack of all trades. And I know there's a bit of debate among even my photographer friends. I really believe that you should specialize. I believe that if you specialize, you become an expert in that field. There's a member of our group, I think it was Margie, or was it Jeffrey? I don't remember who it was. Someone posted a picture of a bird right when they did something really cool. I don't remember what it was. They were swooping in to catch a fish or something, but the photographer knew that that was about to happen. Why? Because they shoot a lot of birds. They're out in the in nature, watching birds, photographing birds for hours a day, per week, per month, per year, right? So you get to know those birds, and you know exactly what they're about to do, when they're going to do it, and you're ready with your camera. That's why you specialize. If I had been out there with that photographer, I wouldn't. I'd just be snapping. You know, maybe I'll get lucky, catch something cool. Another example, my brother, he played football in high school, I think. If we watch a football game together, before they snap the ball, he says they're going to run or they're going to pass. And sure enough, they do it. And I assume if you're a football player, you know by the formation, you know where there's going to be a run or a pass. And that's how the defense lines up too. They look at the offensive line and they say, okay, they're lining up this way. I think they're going to pass, so we need to do this, right? They're experts. They practice and they play day in and day out. So that's why I think you should be an expert in your chosen field of photography. Another quick example. A week or so ago, a client asked me to take some headshots of their staff. And I did it just as a favor because I shoot real estate, I don't shoot people. I did it as a favor and I was very uncomfortable. I have the knowledge because when I first started photography, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I tried everything. I shot birds, I shot people, I shot birthday parties. I was shooting everything until I kind of figured out, okay, where's my niche, right? So I have the knowledge to shoot portraits, but it's not what I do. I don't do it day in and day out. So I was very uncomfortable shooting portraits. Again, I can do it. I'm just not comfortable. It's like exercising a muscle, right? If you exercise the muscle, it gets strong. If you don't, it's going to wear out. So that's why I really think you should specialize. Another photographer friend of mine says he's more of a generalist. He's more of a commercial photographer, but he'll take any job that comes along. If it's real estate, instead of sending it to me, he will shoot it. And I've seen his real estate photos. They're not good because that's not what he does, right? So that's why I really think you should specialize. Find a specialty. Find what it is that you love and focus on that so you will be an expert. So for example, when I go to some photographers' websites, like a picture will come up and it's a pretty sunset or a landscape. And then the next picture is a bride. And then the next picture is a bird. And the next, who's going to hire you? If I come to your website, I don't know what to hire you for, right? If someone's getting married, hang on a second, I've got, here it is. Sorry, I had someone's mic open there. I think I just muted it. So if I'm a bride and I come to your website and I see a flower, well, maybe because flowers are bouquet, bad example. If I see a sunset or I see a cityscape or I see a half-naked girl, no, I'm not going to hire you. I'm looking for a wedding photographer, right? If I'm a commercial client, let's say I have a product that I want you to photograph, right? A soda can, a liquor bottle, something, right? I want you to photograph. I come to your website and I see a bride. No, you're a wedding photographer. You're not a commercial photographer. You're not a product photographer. I'm not going to hire you. That's why I think you should specialize. So when I come to your website, I know exactly what it is that you do. There should be no question what it is that you do. Here's another reason why you should specialize. I'm just going to share my screen here. Hang on a second. Screen share. Let's try this one. Close that. Here, I'm going to open a new tab. I'm just going to do in Google search Orlando. Let's do baby photographers. Baby photographer, right? Let's say you just had a baby. You're looking for a baby photographer. What comes up? Orlando photographer, newborn, baby, family, right? Maternity, Orlando maternity, Orlando newborn. So there's no doubt, there's no question what these photographers specialize in, right? Here, let me go to this one. Melissa Photography, I don't know who this is. Bam, okay, so you see, now I'm on this website and all I see is babies. Babies and pregnant women. I know exactly what Melissa does. She is an expert in photographing babies and families, right? This is what she does. She doesn't do real estate. She doesn't do pets. She doesn't do kids' birthday parties or landscapes or, you know, this is it. There is no question. So that's why I really think you should specialize too, because when someone comes to your website, they should know right away what it is that you do without any words. If there are no words on your website, there are only pictures on your website, there should be no question what it is that you do and why I should hire you. Do I like your work? Do you have a certain style? You know? So, you know, if you like posting pictures of your website of landscapes, that's fine, but who's going to pay for that? Like if I'm going on vacation, am I going to bring you along so you can take pictures for me? No. If you like taking pictures of landscapes, you should be trying to sell those pictures, right? So so you need to find a market for someone who wants to buy those pictures. Okay, so that was specialty. We talked about the types of photography. Let's see, we already did the calculator, did that. Let me talk real quick about incorporating. Yeah. So the types of businesses that you can operate under or as, you can be a sole proprietor. That means it's just you, right? You can, or you can incorporate as an LLC. That's a limited liability corporation. I operated as a sole proprietor for a long time. In fact, I just incorporated as an LLC, I think maybe 2 years ago. Here's why. I had an identity theft scare. But first, let me kind of tell you the difference between sole proprietor and LLC. Let's say you're a sole proprietor and you get sued. You go out of business. You have debts, whatever. The bank, your debtors, whoever's suing you can come after all of your personal property, right? They can come after your dog, your house, your car, right? Anything in your bank account, anything that's of value, they can come after you for that if you owe money or if you get sued. As an LLC, limited liability, right? That's in the name. Your liability is limited. It's limited to what you own as a business, right? So they can't come after your house, your car, your dog. They can only come after what's in your business bank account or your business equipment, right? So if you took out a loan from the bank and they need their money back, well, you could sell your camera gear, right? Or they could come after your camera gear. They can come after the money in your business account. They cannot go after the money in your personal checking account. That's the difference there. So I had an identity theft scare a couple years ago. I was getting these notices in the mail from chargebacks. If you don't know what a chargeback is, let's say you open your credit card statement and you see a charge you didn't make, right? It's fraudulent. You call your credit card company and dispute it. The bank, your credit card company, will send that dispute notice to the merchant. They'll say, hey, this is being disputed. I was getting those in the mail. It's from banks saying, hey, these customers are disputing the charge. I'm looking, I'm like, I don't know who these aren't my customers. I never charged them anything. I don't know what this is about. I was also getting notices in the mail from credit card companies saying, thank you for applying, but at this time we can't approve you. And I'm like, well, first of all, I have very good credit. Secondly, I didn't apply, so I don't care. And I kind of ignored it until I started getting these chargeback notices. And I called and I said, what is going on? What is this about? Apparently someone was using my business name, Harry Lim Photography. They had opened up a fake credit card using stolen credit card numbers and were making they were charging people or bringing up charges. Those charges, of course, got disputed, and it was coming back to me. So I thought, whoa, okay, someone's using my business name to use fake credit cards. Okay, I don't want to get sued by anybody. I don't want banks coming after me. So that's when I decided to file as an LLC. And the process is pretty straightforward. There's a form you fill out. Go to sunbiz.org, right? Sunbiz.org, and you'll see New Florida LLC. Click on that. There is a fee. I believe the first time, I want to say it's $150. And then every year you have to file a report just to tell the state that, yes, you're still in business. And I believe that cost is about 130 something, about 140. So there is a fee to file as an LLC, and there is a yearly fee. And again, that's one of the expenses that I factor in. If you remember earlier, when I was going through my expenses, that LLC registration was in there. So just a consideration, you don't have to file as an LLC. You can stay as a sole proprietor if you want. There is one other thing. I don't know if it's on here. It should be on here. It's a DBA, which means doing business as. So my business name is Harry Lim Photography. If I want to have some cool name like, I don't know, really rad real estate photographer, right? That's not my name. So I have to file with the state as someone who's doing business as, right? Harry Lim, doing business as really rad real estate photography, right? Because the state needs to know who you are. Who is really rad business real estate photography? It's not a person. You need to know who you are. Just like Apple, like who is Apple? Well, Apple isn't a person. It's a company. All right. Well, who's in charge of Apple? Who are the officers, right? So again, three things. Oh, here it is. Fictitious name. That's what it is. Sorry, here it is. Fictitious name registration. So a fictitious name is if you want to run your photography business under some name that's not your own, right? If it's not Harry Lim Photography, then I'm operating with a fictitious name, and you register that. I believe there is a fee for that too. But anyway, three things to consider. Sole proprietor, it means it's just you. LLC, limited liability corporation, or if you're going to have a name for your business that's not your own, you need to register as a fictitious name. What else can I do? Okay, let's do this. EIN, that's an employer identification number. I suggest you get an EIN instead of using your Social Security. Again, just another layer of protection. If you need to fill out forms, you're applying for a business checking account. I get forms from my clients. If anyone, and this includes myself, if I pay a contractor more than $600 in a year, I have to send them a tax form, right? I have to report that to the IRS and send them a form. So I get those forms from my clients, and one of the fields I have to fill out is my Social Security number. Well, I don't want my Social Security number out there for everyone to have. So I have an EIN instead. Again, this is free. There's no cost, but there's a waiting period after you fill out the form. So I just irs.gov. If you just Google IRS and EIN, it should bring you to this, and then you can start the application there. So that's EIN. We talked about registering. Yep. Actually, let me talk about now the fun part, which is taxes. And yes, I'm being facetious there. Sorry, let me go back to this screen. I was trying to find self-employment tax. Here it is. So you might remember earlier when I first started talking about that you might already have a full-time job, and photography is just something you do on the side. You're making a few bucks here and there on the weekends, on your days off, after work, whatever. You're doing photo shoots, right? So if you already have a full-time job, your employer pays part of your Social Security and Medicare tax. When you look at your pay stub, there are three deductions, right? There's federal tax, Social Security, and Medicare. You may not know this, but your employer pays half of the Social Security and Medicare tax. So you pay 6.2%, your employer pays 6.2%. You pay 1.45% of Medicare, your employer pays the other 1.45%. But if you're self-employed like me, or if you want to be self-employed, as in you want to quit your job and do photography full-time, you pay the self-employment tax. That means you pay the full amount of Social Security and Medicare. So this adds up to, I think, like 15.3%. So remember when I said earlier that I don't understand how some real estate photographers can charge so little? I honestly do wonder if they're paying the self-employment tax. Now, granted, they may not be self-employed. Maybe they're just doing it part-time. But if I pay, let's say, 25% in federal tax and 15% in self-employment tax, that's 40%. 40% of everything I make goes out the window to the government. That's 40 cents out of every dollar. And I guarantee you, if you're losing 40 cents out of every dollar, you are not going to be charging, you know, 50 bucks for a photo shoot, 75 bucks for a photo shoot, $300 for a wedding, because you just lost 40% off the top, right? So that's something that you have to consider. Remember earlier when I said I turned down that $1,000. Why did I turn it down? Because it's not $1,000. Take 40% off the top. So self-employment tax is something you have to consider. I also prepay. Hang on a second, I just want to make sure there are no questions in the chat. Nope. Anyone have questions on that, on the self-employment tax or taxes? I'm not quite done yet with taxes, by the way. Okay, no questions yet. Okay, so I prepay my taxes every quarter. So they're due April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and yet January 15th. I know it doesn't make sense. January 15th is for the previous year. So for example, in January of this year, 2018, I paid my taxes for the fourth quarter of 2017. Does that make sense? The fourth quarter of 2017 is due on January 15th of the following year. So just to keep that straight. Now, the reason I prepay my taxes every quarter is because I don't want to get hit with a big surprise when I go file my taxes, right? I don't have to prepay my taxes, but when I file my taxes at the end of the year, in fact, we just had them done last week, my accountant's going to say, "Congratulations, Harry, you owe the IRS $30,000. Where am I going to get $30,000 from? Hopefully, I've been saving it. I haven't been just spending it on camera equipment, right? It's like, where am I going to get $30,000 from? And I would have a penalty to pay. Yeah, no, right? So I would rather prepay taxes every quarter, and at the end of the year, find out, hey, did I pay too much or did I pay too little? And there is a calculation I make on how much to pay. But let me first get to this. This is how you prepay your taxes. You register, and by the way, this isn't just for businesses. Individuals can do this too. If you want to prepay your taxes in a year, you think you're not withholding enough, or you had some gains that you didn't report, or that you don't want to pay taxes at the end of the year on, anyone can do this. So it's EFTPS.gov. I think it stands for Electronic Federal Tax Payment Systems. Yeah, oh yeah, there's a system. So there is an enrollment process, and it does take a little while because you have to enroll. Then they send you a pin, I think, in the mail. Then you come back to finish the registration. So it isn't all done in like 5 minutes, just so you know. But there is an enrollment process, EFTPS. Once you're enrolled, you can go ahead and start making your payments every quarter. And this is what it looks like. Remember, I talked about EIN or Social Security, right? If you are making payments for a business, enter your EIN number there, or your social if you're just doing it as an individual. Your PIN and the password that you set up, you log in, you make your payments. Now, the calculation that I make, and actually, I wasn't going to show you that, but maybe I should. Let me stop sharing this. Now you see me. Give me just a minute here so I bring this up really quick. Try to find it. Taxes. Nope. No. Sorry, guys, give me just a minute. I wasn't planning on showing this, but I think it's a good idea. Okay, let me share this screen with you real quick. Screen share. Not that one. Sorry, not that one. Sorry, hang on. Let me try another one. Come on, screen share. There it is. Okay, so just the other night I was making the calculation for how much do I owe, because we're coming up on April 15th here pretty soon, right? So on April 15th, I need to make my first quarter payment of 2018. So just the other night I was making this calculation, and it's not complete. I haven't, you know, because we're not done with March yet, so I don't know how much more income or expenses I've incurred. But this is as of a few nights ago. So far for the first quarter, January 1st through March 31st, I made $17,000. My expenses were $881. So that's a net of $16,413. I calculate 40.3% of that, right? There's my federal tax of 25% plus my self-employment tax of 15.3, and that is $66.15. That's how much tax I owe for the first quarter of this year. So on April 15th, actually before that, I'm going to schedule it. I'm going to go back here, share that. Here we go. So sometime between now and April 15th, I'm going to come to this website, log in, and make my payment of $6,600 for the first quarter of 2018. And again, that's my estimated payment. That's how much I think I owe the IRS, right? I hopefully I'm right. If I'm wrong, hopefully it's in my favor, and I'll get money back at the end of the year. So it's an estimate that I pay 4 times a year. Now, there is one thing that I cannot tell you about, unfortunately, and that is state tax. The reason I can't tell you about it, because in the state of Florida, if you do not sell a physical product, if you do not give your clients something physical, you do not have to charge sales tax. If you give your client a thumb drive, a CD with images on it, that is a physical product and you have to charge sales tax. I'm a real estate photographer. All my images are delivered electronically. No one needs a print of a house they're about to sell. I deliver all my images through Dropbox, right? I'm not selling a physical product, so I don't charge sales tax. So unfortunately, I can't walk you through this, but it is important. Here's why. I think you should, unless you're in a genre of photography that doesn't deal with physical products, you should be selling products, because that's how you make more money, right? You should be selling prints. You should be selling products. Because, you know, it's like would you like fries with that, right? If you're just giving images on a disc or thumb drive, you're selling yourself short, especially if you shoot portraits or weddings, or if you're a fine art photographer, you have to sell products, right? That is your product. You're selling your prints, right? You go to the art shows. I think the Winter Park Art Show was recently. There's one in Lake Eola. I think Maitland has one every year. If you go to these art shows, that's what you see, right? People are selling their work. It's a physical product that you can buy and take home with you. So I really encourage you, if you shoot portraits, weddings, if you're a fine art photographer, you should be selling products. If you shoot weddings and you just give the people the images on the disc, you've lost money, because you could be selling albums. You could be selling coffee mugs, prints, t-shirts. You know, there's so many things you could be selling to make more money with each wedding. Same thing with portraits. If you shoot portraits, if you're just giving them a thumb drive or submitting images through Dropbox, you've missed out on sales. You should be selling prints, like large prints, canvas prints. You know, when your client comes to you, say, show them these prints on a wall, saying, look how impressive this family looks. You know, on this huge canvas print above the mantle. Right? So you should be trying to sell products. And if you do have to collect sales tax. And you come to this site, it's just floridarevenue.com. You'll see here, register to collect and report taxes. And it'll walk you through the information of how you register. Unfortunately, it's not quite that easy, because there's a calculation you need to make. There's state sales tax of 6%, and then there's your county tax, which varies. I believe in Orange County, it's 0.5%. In Seminole County, I believe it's 0.6. I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me on that. It might be something different in Osceola County. So you have to know what your county tax is. So again, in Orange County, 6.5%. So you have to make that calculation. You collect the money from your clients, you save it, and then every quarter you send it into the state, right? So that money you make, you can't just go spend it. It's the same thing with me. When I make money, I put it into a savings account or into my business banking account. And when I look at that bottom line, I know it's not all mine because I haven't paid my taxes yet. So I might have a nice nest egg sitting there. Let's say it says 10 grand. I'm like, wow, $10,000. What kind of camera and lens can I buy now? No, no, no. That's not my money. 40% of that belongs to the federal government, right? So I can't go spending $10,000. Same thing with sales tax. When you collect it from your clients, you need to earmark that, right? You need to earmark that money saying, this is how much I owe the state every quarter. Or I'm sorry, for this quarter. That's not my money. I need to send this money to the state. I need to send this money to the federal government. Okay, so taxes. Again, I know it's not fun, but it is very important, especially, and it all goes back to the question of what should I charge? Remember, what should I charge? You need to factor in taxes. It's not just the fun stuff like the camera gear. You need to factor in how much you're paying in taxes. And customers, they're not gonna balk at sales tax. We all pay it, right? I mean, you go to Burger King, buy a 99-cent burger, your bill is $1.06, right? Everyone pays sales tax. Everyone's used to seeing it on invoices or receipts. You know, when you go to the grocery store, the sales tax is on your receipt. When you go to a restaurant, sales tax is on it, right? So everyone's used to it. So don't think you're going to turn off clients by charging sales tax. Everyone's used to it, and everyone understands it's not you charging it, right? That's not your money. It's the state charging it. So again, I wish I could help you more with the state sales tax. Unfortunately, I can't because I don't deal with it. But it is something you're going to have to research. Again, go to floridarevenue.com, general tax, and you'll see register to collect and report taxes. I was trying to, hopefully the next time I teach the session, it'll be in person, and it won't be during tax season. I hope to have an accountant with me who can kind of guide you through the state tax portion of it. Okay, so I think now I'm done with taxes. Anyone have any questions? No questions on taxes. All right, so we talked about, let's see, incorporating, state tax, EINs, how to register to and pay your quarterly taxes. We talked about how much to charge. What else? I think we talked about this book, if you want to get it, Best Business Practices for Photographers. And I think that is about it. And again, these are things that I stumbled across bit by bit as I progressed in my career. When I first started shooting, again, I was charging $100 here, $75 there. I wasn't charging sales tax. I wasn't paying my federal tax on that income because I figured, hey, I already have a job. I'm paying taxes there, and this money that I'm making, I'm not, I'm not getting rich on it. I'm spending it. So I figured, I don't have to pay sales tax on that. Yeah, you do. The IRS has a limit for what they consider a hobby, and I forget what the limit was. It's not very high. Something like if you make more than, I want to say $300, maybe $600 a year, it's no longer a hobby, right? It's now a side income, and you have to report income on it. And again, I don't remember what that threshold was. Don't quote me on that. But they do have a threshold for what's considered a hobby and what's considered side income. So however much you're charging on the side, if this is just a part-time thing for you, yes, that you have to report that income along with your work income. And you have to pay taxes on that. Let's see, consider your expenses. Yeah, I didn't know about registering for LLCs. I didn't know about when to file quarterly taxes. I didn't know any of that. I kind of had to discover this on my own. So hopefully what this session has done is giving you all at once. Now you know, oh, okay, these are things, now you can check them off the list. Okay, I'm paying my taxes, I registered as an LLC or fictitious name, I did this, I did this, I did that. So that was my goal for today. And also to try to give you a starting point to figure out what to charge. And I know it's tough when you're starting out, depending on how good your work is, depending on the type of photography you do, how much you can charge. But what else? I think that's about it. Are there any questions? Let's see. I think James, I muted your mic. I can turn it back on if you want, maybe. Let's see. Maybe. Sorry, Jim. I don't know how to unmute you. Oh, wait, there you are. Hang on. No, sorry, you're still muted, but you can use the chat box. Cheryl, I know you were doing Facebook Messenger, but also the chat here works. So I think you're the only two on here right now. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. So no questions? I'm trying to think if I missed anything. I don't think there was. Again, try to choose a specialty. You know, what is that you like to shoot? And focus on that. Don't try to be a generalist or jack of all trades. Find a specialty, whatever it is you like to shoot, and then figure out, okay, who's going to pay me for that? Who's going to pay for that photography? Who's going to pay me for what I like to shoot? Figure out your expenses, how much you want to make, pay your taxes on it, and you're on your way. I think Cheryl's asking if we do a session on marketing. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry, real quick. That does remind me of something. The last time I taught this course, I didn't spend too much time on it, but I did talk about SEO, web presence. So I did kind of touch on SEO. Remember when I talked about specializing, and I went to Google and I just typed in Orlando baby photographer, and we saw all the results that came up. That's search engine optimization. I spend very little to no money every year on advertising. I don't advertise. And I make a pretty decent living. I get clients call me, email me out of the blue. I assume they just found me on Google, right? Why? Because it's on my website. I use tags and keywords, Orlando real estate. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. And when you come to my website, Google knows what it is that I do. Right? Because real estate and real estate pictures are all over my website. There's no question what it is that I do. So when someone searches Orlando real estate photographer, I'm up there near the top. I think I'm like the #2 hit right now. So that's kind of leading back to search engine optimization. If you specialize in a genre of photography, Google will know what it is that you do. And when someone searches for that, you will hopefully show up. Now there's more to SEO than just that, but it definitely helps. Also, real quick, I did want to touch on copyright and licensing. I had another course last year, I think, on copyright. I'm going to try to do it again this year, and licensing, because there's that's another area where I think a lot of photographers don't know a lot about. They're giving away their work. They're letting people use their work without compensating them. So yeah, just real quick, copyright and licensing. Every time you take a picture, you own the copyright, right? And that applies to any citizen in the country. If I give my 3-year-old my phone and she takes a picture, she owns that copyright for 70 years after her death. Think about that. Your copyright lasts for 70 years after you die. It lives on after you. And if someone wants to use that work for profit, they have to pay you. Right? Or you could decide just to give it to them. But theoretically, they have to pay you if they want to profit from your work. That's copyright. Who has the right to copy your work? You don't have to register it. However, if you want to pursue legal action, you would have to register it. And again, there's more to copyright. There's an entire workshop. I'll try to have another one this year about registering, how to register, when, because there are timelines, when to register. But registering your copyright with the government is only necessary if you want to pursue legal action. And legal action is the last resort. It's a nuclear option because it's so expensive and there's no guaranteed income. No guaranteed result, sorry. You could lose the case or you could not get as much as you asked for. But the penalty is up to $150,000 per infringement. So there is a lot of money potentially there if someone steals your image. If Coca-Cola, Nike, Apple, if someone stole one of my images and they don't want to pay and I registered it, I can take them to court and get up to $150,000. Now again, up to. A judge could decide, no, you're getting $2,000. you're getting $5,000. You're not getting $150,000, but it's up to $150,000. There's a case right now. I just read it on one of the photography blogs, Petapixel. This guy shoots insects. Pest control company was using 18 of his pictures, so he sued for $150,000 times 18, which was like 2.7 million, 270 million. I'm not doing the math, but it was millions of dollars that he's suing for. Will he get that? Who knows? But he did 150,000 times 18, and that's what he's suing for. So that gets back to licensing. Anytime you take a picture, let's say you're a wedding photographer, right? You own the copyright to those photos. If you give your clients a print, an album, whatever it is, they're basically own a license, right? You're licensing out your work. They paid you X amount of money and you're licensing out your work. So, and again, I know I'm just kind of scratching the surface on this, not spending a lot of time, but just something I want you to think about is copyright and licensing. Let's see, Cheryl asked about, market your work. Yeah, maybe I should do another course in the future about marketing, because that's a whole another bag of worms and something I'm still trying to figure out myself. So again, SEO and specializing is a big part of it. And then I do social media just because I keep my fingers crossed and hope that it's doing something. It keeps me visible out there, right? If I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all those sites. So yeah, that's a whole nother bag of worms. In terms of business, I think we covered the big thing. We talked about, how to figure out how much to charge, factoring your expenses, talk about taxes, LLCs. So yeah, I think we hit the really big things. And if there are no questions, no. All right, thanks guys. This should be, I think YouTube records this, so anyone can watch it later. I know we had some rough edges. This was my first time doing this, but I think it's a convenient way to hold courses because you can watch from home. So hopefully we'll do more of these in the future. All right, guys, thank you. I will end the broadcast now. And if you have any questions, just post them on the group. All right, bye.